Hello there, everybody. Welcome back to another Lost Ark banger. Truly, this content is just palpable with how insanely good it is. And by that, of course, I mean we're just taking a look at the subreddit and we're seeing what the community has been talking about over the last week. I did take a little peek-sees, and I do know a little bit of what's been happening. Specifically, people are talking about revives in raids, and also this guy talking about solo raids. So, first things first, this video was made by Benji, I believe, and it's the TLDR is it's talking about how the revive change is a very, very good thing, and how a few other small changes could be made to make the game even better. And obviously the discourse in this thread follows. We'll take a look and we'll read some comments, see what people are saying. I see revives as an absolute win. I'm still gonna feel like shit if I die and will still play to the best of my ability, but the fact that it doesn't result in an immediate reset will be such a relief. Also looking forward to having other people's deaths not drag me down as much. People who want to circle jerk about how hard content needs to be hard are such clowns. Y'all aren't as good at this game as you think you are. I see you die too. On new, harder content, a death equals a reset. On older content, a death means you're not allowed to play that character for the raid this week. Adding a bit of forgiveness to this sounds great to me. And this is kind of what I've been saying, this philosophy around. I don't think content needs to be prohibitively difficult, right? I've literally said that since the beginning. And I think it's doubly so on the importance scale for content that you're expected to do repeatedly over and over and over to not be tedious. Or, yeah, I think tedious covers it. Because tedious, I mean, it being not insanely difficult, but it being a level of difficulty that makes it tedious by nature of how much you have to do a thing every week it falls under tedious, basically. And raids being hard for the sake of making people swipe to overgear it earlier is problematic, right? Like, you clear raids to get gold. You need the gold to progress your characters, right? That's the whole idea. You have to do, well, I say, again, I say the word have to do with quotation marks. You have to do, right? Because the game sets you up to allow you to do 18 gold earning raids a week, right? So you have to do it, quote unquote. You don't have to do shit, obviously, right? But it's clear that the game is designed with a specific way to be played in mind, right? Obviously, you can go against the grain, but I think it's a bad faith argument, generally speaking. Because people, I just think the people who argue, well, you don't have to do 18 raids a week, are they're just missing the plot entirely. Because you're right, you don't have to do 18 raids a week. But the game is clearly designed in that way, so why are we arguing semantics, right? It's player versus player when it should be player versus company. I just don't understand this logic. And I do think progression content being hard will just always be hard, even with revives. Especially if they keep making it as difficult as they have been. Because it's already pretty tight DPS checks. Especially, like, prog hard mode Brel. I mean, yeah, I wasn't, like, top end geared, but, like, damn, that shit was kind of low-key kind of hard. Not in, like, a mechanical sense, but in, like, you gotta do good damage and then also not die sense while learning a new raid type shit. And then, obviously, the frontier system is really good, too, where it gradually gets easier as weeks go on. I think that's a really good system as well. But my point is, I think prog is always going to be hard by nature of it being prog, right? Even if you add, like, a personal revive per person, for example, or whatever they end up doing. I haven't looked into it super closely. I just know revives are being added. Progression will always be hard just on nature of it being progression. On top of the way that Smilegate seems to be designing raids to be very, very tight DPS checks on top of, you know, them being, like, mechanically not the easiest, i.e. things like perfect guards. You have to learn the timings for all of that shit. And it's very, very different timings based on what perfect guard, you know what I mean? So I don't know. That's a great take. Yeah, I agree. I think this is pretty good. Hard content is great for our first clear. It's not appropriate for homework raids that you have to do 18 up. Dude, this is what I've been saying. This guy gets it. Joining group raids would definitely be less stressful and more fun for me if revives were a thing. I would like it very much. You guys think we should get revives with Mordum? Friend was saying that only people with no hands would ask for it. I don't care if we get it or not, but maybe it makes progging more chill. I mean, I just kind of got done talking about, like, my opinion, but we can go to the next thread, which is this one, which is literally, AGS, can we please get revives with Mordum, which is a new raid. I personally want revives on hard mode 2 day 1, because many people get fucked because the titles being only achievable in the first 2 weeks. There's too little. I wish it was 4 weeks of the first title, then 2-2, or whatever. Revives make learning a fight easier. This is true. And that is something that I didn't say in my initial, like, thoughts, but I just kind of expected it to be, like, obvious almost. But I do think the whole thing that I was saying, the whole concept around what I was saying earlier is in that even if revives are added to a prog raid, it's still going to be prog, and it's going to be hard because it's prog, right? Everybody learns at different paces, and with the difficulty of new content raids, at least speaking from hard mode Braille specifically, because obviously it's the last thing that I did, and it's probably the last raid that I will be progging, because I don't think I'm hitting item level for Mordum, and I don't think I'm going to be playing it, but maybe I will. Who knows? I think, speaking as somebody who's progged every single raid up until hard mode Braille, and including hard mode Braille, things have definitely been getting continually harder and harder and harder, which is not necessarily a bad thing, per se, but in the lens of it being more than just a prog, one clear, one and done type shit, it is definitely bad. And I still think, even with revives, hard mode Braille would have been a very, very tough prog, you know? But maybe I'm smoking dick. I don't know. I don't think it's too big of a deal either way. Well, I mean, either way being that you give them revives. I don't think it's a big deal. And I think, if anything, you can make an argument of it being better, because, like this guy says, revives make learning a fight easier. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. If somebody is specifically struggling with, like, a singular mechanic, and it's just that one person, if they keep dying to that mechanic, but they get to try it multiple times per pull, that's a win in my book. You know what I mean? Because, put this in a different perspective, right? Assume there's no revives, and there's one person struggling on one mechanic. And, I mean, they're a part of your group, you know, they're your friend. You're not just going to get rid of them because they can't do one mechanic, or they're just having a harder time learning one mechanic. So instead of, when inevitably they die to the mechanic that they still aren't 100% comfortable with, and they're still trying to learn it, it's just an instant reset. With a revive, it's not ideal, obviously, but it gives them another chance to get more comfortable with it. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't see that as a bad thing, personally. But hey, revives are way welcome. Prog does not have to be painful simply because that's how it's always been. I hope they come in with Act 3, and for those that want the full prog experience reset if someone dies, just because it's there doesn't mean you have to use it. That's also very true. I think it's kind of stupid, personally, but it is very true. If you don't like the revives, you don't have to use them. I came on Reddit specifically to make this post and was surprised to see it already here. A lot of people seem to think that reviving on prog is somehow a mortal sin. If you don't want to use the system, just play with 7 other people who don't want to use it either. You can just not press the red button, or the res button, and re the raid instead. Not everyone has to suffer. And that's true. Again, I think that's stupid, but it is very true. You have the ability to just not use them. And it's like people who want to do blind prog groups. You could still do that, too. You can just not look at the information, you know what I mean? Definitely have the option, and I don't think, like I said, I don't think adding the revives is a bad thing, no matter how you spin it. I don't think it's bad. Pro tip about card sets for supports doing Act Gate 3. The Gate 3 of Act 3 is a boss slightly weak to Earth. 5% instead of 10%. The percent is not relevant for this. Now for DPS, there's only one real choice for card set. It would be the Earth set. If we head over to the support side, you have a bunch of different card sets. The TLDR is... use the old set. That's the TLDR. Use the old card set. Okay. Well, if you're a support, and you're not a super sweaty nerd and didn't know this, there you go. Cool. Can we get more solo raids? They're by far the biggest reason I can still play the game, and I wish there were more. I used to be really big into raiding, especially in games like Lost Ark and WildStar, where the raids are very creative. But I ended up getting sick, and I can't really put the time and effort into keeping up. So I've fallen behind, relying on Makoko passes and events to catch back up and rebound here and there. It was a constant struggle of trying to get past gatekeepers and whatnot, that no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't really get back in the group raiding with my health getting in the way. Then solo raids came, and now I have something to do regularly. It brought Lost Ark back for me. But now I can best Echidna without any effort. I keep getting gatekept from Behemoth, and my friends are so far ahead of me that they're busy. I would really like some more solo raids, especially because the last video game I really play anymore. Lost Ark's kind of the only game that's offered something since WildStar for me to stick around and be there for. That's the whole system and layers, blah, blah, blah. Honestly, the game plays pretty well as a solo adventure game, built like an MMO. It's kind of brilliant. Aging players with health issues, solo raids are a godsend. Really hope for and want more of them. I mean, I've said it since day one. I don't know why there's not a solo version of every raid on release. I think it's quite honestly stupid not to have it like that. And I think it's even more dumb the fact that they haven't really done anything with solo raids outside of adding, like, Theamine Echidna. Like, what are we doing here, man? I don't know. I don't know if this has ever been suggested, but I would love to see some duo content. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, or dynamic grouping content in general, like 1 to 4 people, you know what I mean? That's, anything like that would be super, super cool. And I think, again, accessibility is such an important thing with a video game, or just in general, things in general. You know, accessibility is so important. And I don't think limiting people from enjoying things in certain ways is ever really good. I don't know. I don't know. I like solo raids, but I wish they could be put at the pace of regular raids so I can learn to play and react to them at a high speed instead of dying in my third public Echidna and getting spammed with emotes and insults. True. They definitely could be they could be made with more of, like, a transitory guideline in mind. Like, from the solo raids that I did, because I did all of the solo raids up until I don't remember. Was it a con? A con that was the last one? A con or Triangle or Voldus, I guess, technically. I did all of them when they first came out, but I haven't done any of the newer ones that got added. Newer ones, I mean, Theamine Echidna, I haven't done those. But there's definitely, like, it definitely tried to teach you mechanics, but it definitely did not get them all. I don't know. I think solo raids could definitely have been a good learning tool in addition to just being something that people could do if they choose to want to play the game solo. But I could yap about that forever. You already know my opinion if you're somebody who's stuck around the channel for a little bit. I like accessibility, man. I like having options. I like giving people the options to play games how they want, generally. But hey. Anyways, I think that's about it for this week. Thank you guys so much for watching, as always, spending some time with me. It means the most. Your time is valuable. Most valuable resource in the world. Like the video if you like it, subscribe, all that good stuff. And thank you to my YouTube members. Remix my life. I'm Nufu. It's Biscuits and Diz. Love all of you guys very, very much. And I'll see you all in the next one. Bye. Such good timing.